Welcome everyone to Weston Pools. Now today's join me on one of my favourite lakes here on the complex. It's a bit unique and it's the clay pit. Now this is down the road off site. Now the reason why I've come here today is because we're coming into springtime now. The water's getting a little bit warmer, the fish are starting to feed a little bit more than the winter months. So but one thing's important, certain types of bait, they can give you that little edge to catch some bigger fish in your sessions. And today, it's all about fishing with corn. So what we're going to do is run you through the approach I'm going today, how I'm going about it, my rigs, my feeding, and we're going to get stuck into some of these big golden carp down here at the clay pit. Right, I'm going to start with the bait. Now, what I've done today is I've decided to fish corn. Now, the reason behind this is the water's clear. It's not going to be as coloured as a summer mulch, and it's just coming a little bit coloured, there's a little bit of tinge in the water, but it's still going to be clear. Now, with some carp and F1s, I want a nice one big standout hook bait. Now, we're going to be fishing for big F1s and big carp today. Biggish carp and up to that size. There might be an odd bream caught as well. Now, one standout bait for me is corn. It's visible, you can see it on the bottom, it's nice and heavy as well. Where we're fishing today is like 7.5 foot deep, 7 foot deep, so I want a nice heavy bait to get down to the bottom where them fish are feeding. Now if the fish are feeding actively, the last thing I want to do is start to feed like micro pellets or maybe even fish maggots if there's a lot of fish in my peg. Corn just keeps it nice and pinned to the bottom, nice and heavy, dead simple. It's a nice cheap bait as well. You don't need much of it. I've just got 2 tins here, 2 different tins, F1 corn, and I've got salted caramel. And just see, now I wasn't big into flavourings, but I feel like carp do like sweet baits, so this is why I got salted caramel and F1 sweet. I've caught loads of fish on these in the past, so I've just got a bit of confidence with them. Now my rig is important. So here at the clay pit, it's quite, like I said, it's quite unique. It's a very deep venue, but it's clear as well, so it coincides with what I'm trying to say. So I'm only fishing a short pole today, but we got 7.5 foot deep, so I'm just fishing a top kit, a short 3, a number 4 and a 5 section, just on slightly on an angle, just on a slope. Now this peg I'm on today, peg 4, just slopes away into like probably deeper water and there's like a road in the middle. So what I'm going to do is, my rig's dead simple. It's nothing technical, it's just nice and easy, which everyone can get along with and just catch some. So elastic wise, I've got a 13 Jura slip. The reason because I got this, I want to set the hook, but I could catch some fish up to say probably fish between £2 and £8, maybe the odd chance of a double or even a £15 or plus. So that'll be able to handle everything. Now, there's no need for cupping kits, loads of different top kits. I've just got this top kit. I'm just going to use a medium cab pot. It allows me just to fill it up with how much corn I want to put in, 5 pieces, fill it to the top, 30 bits of corn, just depending on how we're going. Now, main line, dead simple, 017. I've just got a little back shot there, two number 9s, just where I'm afloat, just move it where you are. Now, with corn, I just feel like you're not going to get that element of the fish coming off the bottom or trying to catch them shallow. Because it's heavy, it's going to sink fast, sink straight to the bottom, so I don't need a nice faffy float going through the water like a 4x12. I've just got a 4x16. Now, that is an F1 maggot, I forgot to say actually. F1 maggot, 4x16. Now, the shotting pattern resembles this. I've just got a bulk and 2 droppers, dead simple. I literally want to flick my rig out, make sure I'm flicking it past my pole tip, let my bulk come in. As soon as everything straightens up, I'll show you when I'm fishing how I go about it. Everything straightens up and it's fishing straight away, so it's coming onto that shelf. The last thing I want to do is try and put my rig in anything straight line towards myself, because I feel like I'm going to catch a shelf, the rig's going to sit up and move around. So I've got that space 6 inch, and then the top of my hook length. Now my hook length's dead simple. It's got a pre-tied GPM 015 to a 14. Now I like a 14 because, like I said, we're going to catch some bigger fish, but I can hide the hook in the corn. If I was fishing with maggots and stuff like that, I'd probably be using a 16 or an 18. because the hook point will be very exposed to the 14, but I can hide the hook in the corn and get away with the 14. So like I said, it's dead simple fishing, but it's the way of going about it, making it dead effective. Right, so just got our first bite now. Took a little while to get going, but just caught our first one now. I'm not sure what it is. I think it might be, that's a little carp, but not fighting at the minute. Just for a few bits of corn, probably put like, starting to fight now, realised. Probably put, say, 20 to 30 bits in and just been thrown about 3 or 4 and every now and again. I've had a few signs, indications, and I feel like, because it's so deep this lake, I feel like it's going to take time to, I can see that fish miles down. It's going to take time to actually, should have took the short reel, to get the fish there, and once they're there I think they'll arrive. So it's probably going to be better just do this later in your session and focus on it, on the short pole and early off, because I feel like corn is not an instant bait like such as pellets, but when they gather there and they come into want to feed on that short pole line or even in the edge, I feel that's going to be the key of where to catch them. Now just pop the hook out. He didn't really fight for clay pit standards, that one, so I think I've got away with that one, but I'll just hold him up. Little mirror. Now he didn't really fight for clay pit standards, but it's a nice fish, and you can see later on in a session or a match they're going to be key to building a massive weight. Now like I said, reason why I've chose to use corn is because I feel like it's just that standout hook bait. It's going to be on the bottom, them carp are still going to be visually feeding like they do with bread and corn in the winter months, because the water clarity hasn't changed that much. I feel like you can get away with still fishing corn. It's still a great hook bait for that short pole line. As where when it warms up in the summertime or the later spring, that's where meat can come into play. But today we've just got corn. Now what I'm going to do with this one, I've just been literally feeding dead negative with a cad pot. Probably got 8 to 10 bits in there, and literally just dropping them in the short pole and flicking my rig past. Now I'm being cautious all the time how I lay my rig in. I always want to lay my rig into the lake, because I want to get it down that shelf and make sure it's arced on that shelf. The hook bait's on the bottom. Now one beauty of corn is because it's a heavy hook bait, if I let my rig go here now.
Really sorry to interrupt the video, folks, but just please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and then that will remind you that our videos are coming up for all you lovely lot to watch.
As soon as that rigged, I've gone miles past where I'm meant to be fishing. See how my float there just starts to dip, that's not where I'm fishing, because my float's at too low to the water. So if I drag my float back, hold it up, hold my tape on the end of my knee where I've got it, drop my rig in now, you'll see it's still pushing away. So I'm just going to inch it back up onto the shelf. So see, now it's near perfect. Now just give it one more little inch, back up. So there, now my rig's sitting where I've shotted it. So that's one little important tip, is when you're fishing corn, it's such a heavy bait. If you've gone too far, sometimes you can do. Tape helps you keep your mark on your float, mark on your pole. But if you've gone a little bit too far and your rig just sits a little bit different, just think, right, well, if I'm fishing on the shelf, it's a way to, I know now, I've got a nice visual hook bait on, and I'm on that shelf where I need to be. So if any carp, oh, that's a bite then. Bit keen then, check me up. If any carp come in the peg now, I know I'm going to be right on the money and right where I need them to be. I have an indication there straight away. So again, it's a little bit keen on that one. So flip my rig straight out, lower my bulk down. So now, because I know I'm on the tape and I'm not trying to show you, I'm just going to show you how I lay my rig in. So I've laid it all out, let my rig see, and you see my float still arced over. That'll eventually, in a minute, that'll settle nice and still. Drop that in. Now that's sitting perfectly, so I know in my head, right, yeah, I'm on that shelf. I'm just going to wait for that carp or F1 to come in, See the hook bait, got a nice positive hook bait on, so we're going to get a nice little dink when we get it. It's not going to be like them small, like soft pellet type bites. It's going to be a nice positive indication. We can just strike on that one. I'm probably getting a bit giddy because it's early on in the session. I haven't like settled into catching them. I'm still trying to make the most of every bite I get, and a bit jumping the gun with it. But I say I'm expecting it just to get better and better and better as the day goes on. Now, when we're fishing here now, we're just being nice and positive. I feel like I need to pull that up a little bit. Now, you may think, well, are you going to lift and drop your rig? Now, I'd probably never do that on the shelf like this, because if I lift and drop my rig, there could be a rock, or the shelf's so severe. It's not too bad, but on venues where it's so severe, you could catch it on the ledge and your rig could sit differently, and you feel like you're wasting time and not being efficient enough. As where, if I'm just inching it up now, you've got a nice visual hook bait, like I said, that corn, nice and bright yellow on the bottom. The fish can see it, they know it's there. And I'm making sure I'm just staying in the same spot. Now, if I had a flat bottom or a really, really gentle slope, I'd probably give it a lift and drop as well, just to catch the eye of the fish. But because I'm such a little severe shelf here, and I'm just dubious of what I need to be fishing on, making sure I'm on it all the time, just keeping my float dead still, that's how I'm going about it today. So I'm not saying lifting and dropping is wrong, but in this situation we've got here today, it's not ideal, and I don't feel like it's going to compromise me thinking where my float and bait is. I just want to be nice and set, that little trap, just trying to get the fish. Now, if you haven't had a bite for a while, don't just, as well in the clear water, don't just sit there and think, right, well, they'll find it in a minute. You can literally chuck a few pieces of corn around your float. That's only 6 pieces I've chucked in. Makes a little bit of a noise going in, but obviously it's going through the water, so any fish that are around the area catches their eye, and it just sends them just chasing that corn down to the bottom. Now, if you catch 2 or 3 fish's interest and they start moving in, you've got like 10 bits of corn on the bottom, you're giving yourselves a chance of them picking it up. Key as well, now be nice and patient with this. It's not frantic fast fishing, but when you're getting the good stamp fish, I'm very surprised that carp didn't fight then. Normally what happens on this lake is you whack into them and they just shoot off into the, well, they don't shoot off into the middle, they go down. You have to hold on. That's why I've not used like a 10s hollow. Just feel like it's a little bit too light. Just gone with a 13s Jura. Now, if the fishing got really good, I could step it up to a 15. That elastic sort of matches my hook as well, a 14. Just nice and balanced, going to get everything in. I can just focus on making sure I'm on the shelf, feeding the right amount of bait, and putting them fish in the net. I'm not worried about all my other little bits and bobs. That's one thing as well, like when you're fishing with this, you're not going to get loads and loads of indications, because it's such a heavy bait and you're only feeding minimal amounts of bait. There's not going to be hundreds of fish in your peg at a time, for example. I know it's exaggerating, but there's going to be maybe 2 or 3 fish moving, 3 or 4 moving, and just got to make the most of when them fish. They're not. Sometimes you do get the odd liner because they are bigger fish than, say, like smaller F1s or smaller carp. But like I said, when you get your bite, it's normally like go fly under. Don't be wrong, if the fish turn up in numbers, then obviously you're going to get fast indications and fast bites. But at the minute, it's just been a bit steady away. Well, that wasn't a bite. I shouldn't have struck at that. See if I had an indication there. So lay my rig back out, make sure bubbles come up there, make sure just drop my back shot in the water so it just everything's tight, it's all arcing in. Not too worried about having to lay my rig back in, because it gives me a chance as well, that visual effect of it falling back through the water. That last foot from your bulk, ooh, that last foot from your bulk is going to make nice little attraction. So we're striking a bit hard there, getting a bit carried away, but nice big bit of corn. So it's all about visual. I'm going to feed any more for now. I feel like there's some fish in the peg there, so just want to make sure I get everything right now. So if you had like a 4x12s on, or even a 4x14, it'd be a bit slow getting down to the bottom. That's where you want to make the most of getting your rig in the water in position straight away. when them fish are there. So them two indications are probably fish knocking into me rig. So just give them a chance to just need to be patient, not panicking or worrying about missing a few indications. It's a good sign there's some fish there. So just going to sit here now, nice and patient. Hopefully, just clearing out my peg. There you go, there's a bite now. So when I hook one, I'm just going to chuck like 4 or 5 bits in just to make sure there's one on the bottom. Being ever so strange today. They're not normally, honestly, you ask anyone that comes to this venue, you normally hook them and they're just literally trying to bottom you out on the bottom, but I don't know what it is it? Big F1? Be a big F1. Nudged in then. A bit carried away because I can see him under the water. There we go. Ooh. See they're proper fish they are. Get that. Oh. There we go, got my duck out. I'll hold him up because he's a cracker. Proper F1 that one, so that's what I mean. Them sort of stamp fish are going to, late on in the match, or even they're going to win you the match, or in your session, there's just, you see how excited I got when that popped up in that clear water. Big 3.5 pound F1 here at the clay pit. Now, that might be, I know it sounds silly, but that might be why I'm missing a few indications, a few F1s there. Now, if there's some smaller F1s there, they're not notoriously prone to picking up corn, so that's what the few indications can be. So if a few carp moved in, I feel like we just get positive indications and bites. And as well, it's the start of the session, so we don't want to be making too many presumptions about it. Just literally take our time and feel our way in. I'll just put like 10 in again. Now when I pop my corn in, I feel like I want to make a bit of noise, just so like when I chuck it in, make a bit of noise, just trying to track some fish in at the start. Now if the fish were already there and we felt there was loads of fish in the peg and we're getting loads of signs and regular bites, I'd probably try and sneak it in, because I wouldn't want to try and make the noise and just try and, even though corns are quite a heavy hook bait, I don't want them fish to start drifting off the bottom chasing noise. I just want them pinned to the deck, nice and simple. So if I feel like the fish are moving off the bottom just because of that noise aspect, but that noise I want to use to help me now. I want to try and draw some fish in. It's a big lake. You're not just going to catch fish by tapping 2 or 3 bits of corn in. It's a big deep lake. There's a lot of fish in it. It's about being nice and positive, but taking your time as well. You don't want to be like lashing in handfuls of corn at this moment in time. Just literally feel your way into your session. And if it was your match, you'd be on this line later, so you'd be dripping a bit of corn in now and again. So them blind indications, they could have been them big finicky F1s. They're not always prone to just nailing your hook bait like carp. I feel like if a carp comes in the peg, it just literally goes in the peg, sits there, 100-mile-an-hour bite straight away when they eat it. But I feel like if F1s can faff around with it. Now, say if I was fishing pellets or maggots, they might catch them better, because it's more a bait they want to eat at the minute. But there you go, that's that one. So one thing I'm going to make sure, because I'm just going to check where I am on the bottom, just to make sure I'm made. Because I just want to make sure that I'm on the bit of the... Yes, that might be why. I've just literally... I think I've gone a little bit too far there. I'm trying to flick my rig a little bit too far, so I understand why we're missing a few bites indications. That's one thing to check all the time. Just literally, if you're on that shelf, you need to make sure flick that in. There we are. That's where it should be now. Keep my float there. I feel like my rig was maybe just drifted too far down that shelf and we weren't on enough line on the bottom. Now what I'm trying to look for is probably like an inch or two on the bottom, just so it's there on that shelf and then nice and pinned on the bottom. That's where we're going to catch them fish on corn. Say, because it's such a deep lake and the bottom's all over the place, sloping away from us and quite a severe shelf, it's why it's important now. In the depths of summer, you won't be really fishing in that depth of water. It's all more like top kit and edge fishing. So just making sure that you're on the money and in the right place. It's mega important. So no harm in just having a visual little go with a plummet. Just pop it on, just see what's moving around. See, have a little plumb of your peg again. Right, so we've just hooked another one there, so we've let the peg develop a bit. We've just started getting a few bites again. Now, this feels like an F1, just because it's not running me in the middle of the lake, but see that elastic's just nice and soft, but it's cushioning, but I've got a bit of power there as well. Now, one thing from that little, we had them signs, indications, and it's got a lot better now since we just make sure we're on that shelf, just not that dead depth, just literally 1 or 2 inches over depth, pin it on that shelf. Ooh, trying to do me under the board, which is a common theme. We've got the dead depth there, just literally pin it into the bottom. Yeah, it's a nice F1, this one. Like I said then before, it just depends what fish are in your peg to what sign indications you get. So we were having a few liners a minute ago, just literally flicked 3 bits of corn over the top, sat there, waited about 2 minutes and nailed an F1. So starting to understand and develop the peg now, which is good. Like I say, it's nice easy way of fishing. You don't need to have loads and loads of bait. A tin or 2 of corn, you can still catch loads of fish on it. But it's important in this time of the year. Look at that, this time of year especially, because the water's still clear, you can still catch on these bright baits which they've been eating all winter. That's a lovely golden thing, which because of the clear water they are in this lake. Ooh, just caught me hooking in it. So popping back. It's always one of my favourites, you see him swim off. But literally how I've been going about it is just making sure I've got a nice bit of corn, and literally there's a few ways you can hook it. I don't believe that like one's a magical way. I just literally think shove the hook in the top so it's like that, so the hook's there, and then literally same as the expander pellet, just push it round so it sits, the hook sits within the corn, so you got the weight of the corn, so it masks the weight of your hook, makes it a lot easier to catch the fish. Hook presentation. So if you're fishing for smaller fish, such as maybe F1s, maybe some skimmers, that's a brilliant bait for skimmers, corn as well, but or smaller carp, then you can maybe change for 16. But for today, I don't see any point, because we're fishing on a deep lake. We're going to catch some big carp hopefully as the day goes on, and I need my gear up to the job, like I said, nice and balanced, so I'm not going to lose anything. So one thing I've been doing is just lifting the rig slightly, probably my float and probably 8 inches of line, and just literally lowering it down nice and slow, so my boat's caught up there. So I'm making sure I'm on that area where I've plumbed up. Oh, that's a sign straight away. So see how the post's getting better? That was a liner. Making sure I put my rig in right. So I'm not too fussed about laying my rig back in, because I feel like I'm catching either fish and give you a quick indication or a bite. Rig's moving. So I mean, if it was really windy today, I'd probably be looking for a 4B18 or a 0.75 power. But it's flat calm, so we can get away with the lightest rig we can get away with. So not fishing like a 4x12 or a 4x14, 4x16, nice and positive. Bulk and 2 droppers. Dead simple shotting pattern. Now you could have a strung bulk, but I just feel like it might take a little bit of length of time to get, a little bit longer to get to the bottom. It's not going to take too much longer because you've got the same amount of shot on it, but with your bulk and 2, your bulk's going to bomb down to where you need it to, so you can lay your rig in, so you know, like I said before, when you've laid that rig in, your float's straight, you can just lower it down, let that last foot do what it needs to do, nice and delicate, and you're fishing in the area. Now you know you're on the right sort of contour of the bottom. I know I seem to be going on about it a lot, but it's so important. Like you said before, that's 3 or 4 inches a little bit too far, and you lose that little bit of line on the bottom, and it can just cause you all sorts of little issues like that. So if you do have a problem like that and you think, wow, I wonder what's going on here, just literally reset, start again, plumb up, just see, right, yeah, I know I need to hold my tape in the right bit. Maybe my rig was just pushing away from me just because I'm flicking it out a little bit more, so maybe I need to think, right, I'm going to hold my rig a bit stiller for a bit longer, make sure it's right under my pole, so when I lower it down, it's where I've plumbed up and it's nice and accurate. Just little things like that can catch you them extra fish. See, is where you could think, I don't feel like it was me feeding that was causing them problems and missed bites or them, I fouled up that one fish. But definitely it's because I just went a little bit too down the shelf. Just didn't give myself enough line on the bottom just to able to keep the rig still. And fish come through and it's just a little bit too undergun for where I need it to be. Like you see now, there's a lot less signs, a lot less indications as well. I think, as I said, that I missed a bite, but a lot less indications. Before we had 3 or 4 missed indications before we hooked that first carp. I think that's only my 4th indication I've had since we've left. Making sure to keep that rig still, utilising the back shot, keeping it nice and L shape. Feel like you need to pop another shot on to keep it a bit more, so it doesn't drift away from you. You can. There you go. See what I mean now? It's getting a lot better now, and that is. I reckon that's going to be a carp because he's trying to, yeah, it's got to be that. This is what I was talking about. This could be then. This is the exciting thing about the clay pit. Anyone you speak to, it comes down here, is just the carp are amazing. But I reckon it'll probably be an F1 now because I'm not very good at guessing normally. But the way that's pulling, I don't know now, where it just took off at the start. Okay, a little bit of elastic. I know, definitely a carp. See that difference? That literally, we had a few indications, missed that early indication. Yeah, it's a carp. Nice common. Ooh. Should be landing out of the way. Ridiculously strong, that one. Look at that. I just love how golden they are. But it's almost orange at the bottom. But just, it's amazing how something so small, nailed in the top lip as well, right where we want him. So it's amazing how something so small can make a massive difference. Look at the state of his tail, it's like an orange. Look at that. You can tell you've had 5 or 6 of them late on in your match, or even in your pleasure session. Look at, like I said, look how excited I'm getting just because of the colours on it. Big, thick, depth of it, it's weight, big, weighty, common. I'm just popping back. As before. Brilliant. Should have got my towel at my bag, but I was too keen to get fishing. But say, like, something so small has made a massive difference there. Just slowing things down. I always say to him, fishing, if you feel like you're not doing it right, just stop, evaluate. Yes, Zolt's chucked me the towel. Hands are getting cold, that's why. Just evaluate your fishing. Think, right, what's going on here? So literally, I just felt I'm getting a bit obsessive being on that shelf. But look at the difference there. You had one indication, laid the rig back in, sat there for a minute or so. What felt like a minute or so. One clunk carp. That's what we want. That's what we're trying to fish for. So I'm trying to think I'm in the right bit. I'm just going to kinder in. 6 to 8 again. I flip my rig past, keep my pole quite high. So like you see it all waggling around. Let's get a lot straighter now and just lower it down nice and slow. I can put that box shot in position. If I feel like I need to edge up that shelf a little bit, I can do. Just constantly conscious of where that rig is sitting on the shelf. But like I said, this is some in the early parts of spring, even in the summer months, don't get me wrong, but in the early part of spring, then in waters, say if your water's still a bit gin clear, not gin clear, but a little bit of clearness to it, you feel like you need a bit of visual bait, then corn can be so good. That's why we come here today to clay pit. Prove that. I know the clay pit is you can catch a lot of fish on corn on this lake, but generally that is because clarity of the water allows the fish to see it, nice and heavy as well because it's deep. See, there's a sign, a little indication, not pull me float under, but it's just a movement on the float, so it's good to watch your float. Just watch it, try and read what's going on. So one thing you can look for is like bubbles around your peg, so like around your float. That's normally giveaways as odd carp or an F1 about. When we first started, before we were fishing, I fed some bait, gone in, and it's like our bubbles come up around. It's like there's some fish coming into the area now. And like obviously it takes time to build up. Once they start coming, see, that's just a little stab then. So now I generally don't think they're bites. I just think there's a fish bumping into your line, moving around. So, like I said, I'm confident now. I don't need to lift and drop it. I can literally just sit there and I'm confident. I've got my big grain of corn on. If the fish wants to eat it, they're going to go down and suck it in. If they do, like I said, I'm going to get a positive bite. See, bubbles just come up just towards me, ever so slightly. Do it wrong after like say 4 or 5 minutes. If you feel like you need to lay your rig back in, you can do. It's not. I'm not saying just anchor it to the bottom and keep it there until you get a bite. Like I said before, I'm not worried about laying my rig back in because I feel like if it catches an eye of a fish, especially in this depth of water, the fish aren't going to be hugging the bottom at 7 foot. They're going to be swimming around probably 3.5, 4 foot, just coming around, see a bit of visual bait. Like I say, that's why I wanted to fish corn. And also, it's a good bait for stamped fish. Now, don't get me wrong, I could fish maggots and casters here and catch skimmers, roach, smaller stocky carp. I could get the chance of some big fish, but like I say, if you want to try and win matches or catch some bigger fish, don't be scared to feed a bit of corn, because if they do turn up, you've seen the stamp of the fish, you've had a massive F1, had a nice little smaller carp, that was a bite. Just check your hook bait as well all the time, just because if I look at that now, that's hanging on for the thread. So just try and get that. That's hanging on for the thread. Now if I was to put that back in and strike, it's going to pop off. So we'll literally just make sure you're conscious of that all the time. I'm just going to pop them in, make sure it's solid. Now I'm thinking now for feeding wise, and a sign indication then, so flip my rig past. I'm going to keep my pole quite high. I'm thinking if I don't get a bite now within like a minute or two, I'm just going to chuck 6 grains over. Chuck them in twice so it gets like a column, so it can try and catch the attention of the fish twice. Got a better chance of doing that feeding twice. Instead of one hit you're just getting one attraction falling through, but if I chuck two, it's just a bigger column of it falling down. So like I said, you're just opening up the chances more to try and get that bite. So you can normally tell with your float, if your float sits where it's not shotted to, just that corn just pulling it down. So that's what we've got our float shotted like. I know my tape's just on my knee. I was fishing it probably 3 or 4 inches too far before, and that just causes me to come off the bottom. Well, not on the bottom, just slightly on the bottom. See, that's the sign there. So there might be a fish just grubbing around, picking up the bits of corn around mine, coming into the shelf. Don't get me wrong, if I felt like I needed to come a bit closer in a bit shallower water, I could always do that. But I just feel for this time of year, especially if it's lake in general, I feel like that 7 foot's going to be a nice little area. I know the fish do like it around that area this time of year. So I've had a sign, but I've not had a bite. So what I'm going to do is literally pick up 3 bits of corn. A bit too far that one, but it'll be alright. Chuck a little bit more in, just because I went too far. Don't get me wrong, if it was a nice flat area there, it'd be a lot easier. I know a lot of commercials, there's a flat area, say 5 or 6 metres out, but this is just unique to this venue, but it helps. If you do have a venue where there's a slope and you feel like you struggle to fish on it and you're not sure where you're fishing and where your bait's ending up or how you're going to present your rig on it, and it's just a nice little way just to show you how to go about it. Now, length of your lash above your float, or length between your float and your pole tips, can be important as well. You don't want it too long, because that's going to cause you, if your float does drift out and you don't put enough back shot on, and that one time where you just like, you might have a little drink and your float just drifts past where you want to be. And that could be the time where you foul that fish and lose it, and you think all of a sudden you start making decisions which something's not your fault there. As where this, I know I've only got probably 10 inches of line, maybe a foot maybe. Back shot's there, just dead close. So I know my back shot's not, I keep it like an Allen, because it's no wind today, I'm keeping my back shot dead close to my float. So I know it's not drifting all over the place. I'm not fishing too far. Literally my float is probably like ½ an inch past the end of my pole, which is perfect, and that's a perfect bite, that one. See, just keeping it all important there. That's what we're on, 100-mile-an-hour bite. Just keep him. Don't want to bully him, but I know I've got the right gear on. If the fish's hooked in the mouth, I know it's going to be nice and simple to get it in, because I know I've got a nice big hook on. And what it's doing now, it's going to the oblivion. I've got nice soft elastic in, but there's still a bit of a beef there. See, if I was to fish like, say, a 10s holler now, that fish would be further out. It'd be a lot hard to put. I'd be putting a lot more pressure on, because I'd be using my puller a lot more. This is why it's important. Sometimes you don't want too light of elastic, because you're going to put too much pressure on when you're trying to bully the fish. Now, I'm just literally lifting my top kit there. I'm not putting any pressure on the fish. As where, if you have too light elastic, you get put in the top kit. You see it bent double. People see the fish are running there. Just keep it nice and down. Just keep it nice and still. Just keep lifting him all the time. Got like a nice long landing net here, 4 metre one. So if the fish comes out further out, I can just. That's a nice big fish to end on that one. There you go. See, I've used nearly all my landing net there, and he's popped further out. So that's a lovely fish, that one. And see what I mean? It's starting to build up now. The peg and get better. So that's a beautiful fish. That probably 8 or 9 pound. That. Probably maybe a little bit more, not sure. I'm trying to spin it around. Trying to hold him up. Ooh, what a lovely fish that is though. That's what we're talking about, that's what we come to catch. Nice big, golden common on the corn. And that's what it's all about. You can fish maggots and casters, worms, little pellets, catch different styles of fish, but when you're targeting big fish in the springtime, in clear water, even big deep lakes like this, they're the ones you want to be catching. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Booyah! That's a good fish, isn't it?